Welcome to another episode of Full Build Friday, where I try to build a character from a comic, game, or similar source using the baseline rules of Pathfinder Second Edition. These characters are built on Path Builder 2e. When I was but a young lad roaming the mean streets of my two-horse town, I caught sight of a little show called Naruto. It wasn't something that particularly interested me, but it did have a few characters that seemed cool, and one of those is today's build. Kankuro of Sunagakiri. As is tradition, we need to set some goals for this build first. A son of the leader of the village hidden in the sand, Kankuro is the middle child of the three sand siblings, a team of shinobi. While his older sister and little brother wield immense elemental powers, Kankuro specializes in the use of ninja puppets that he controls through chakra threads. Aside from using these threads to wield his puppets, Kankuro can also use them to trip up enemies or manipulate their movements. Unlike a number of ninjas in his setting, Kankuro is a little bit more traditional, preferring misdirection and deceit, even disguising himself as one of his puppets and vice versa at times. He didn't create his puppets, but is responsible for the repairs, maintenance, and upgrades, and has dreams of creating the ultimate puppet. On the topic of these puppets, he was initially introduced only wielding one, but gained more throughout the series. Karasu is an offense-based puppet that wields a large number of hidden blades, canisters to launch poison smoke bombs, and needles that it spits. Kankuro later appeared with Kurowari, a puppet specialized in capturing targets in its large hollow body that can then combo with Karasu. His third puppet was Sanshuo. This quadrupedal puppet is focused on defense with a hollow body that others could ride within, or could capture targets, as well as a frill that could act as a shield, and in some instances, a fire breath. Kankuro also eventually acquired the puppetized body of the creator of his puppets, Sasori. Armed with a wide array of weapons, notable mentions include a stinger-like blade, spinning knives, and a flamethrower. Like an author at the start of a story, let's build some character. We'll start by taking a look at Kankuro's ABCs, the ancestry, background, and class for this master of marionettes. I'll admit, I did consider Poppet for his ancestry, just because I like the idea of a Poppet with a puppet. But I don't think the ancestry offers anything pertinent to the character. As such, this build will stick with the human ancestry, while making use of the skilled heritage to net him the trained proficiency in deception, which will scale up to expert. This is a point towards Kankuro's tendency to be a tad more duplicitous than other characters of his setting, particularly in regards to its main character and his siblings. From his ancestry feats, he'll take unconventional weaponry to become proficient with the shuriken, which serves as a stand-in for the kunai that is a staple in the arsenal of the ninjas of Naruto. I get that the entertainer background seems strange, and I'll admit it is honestly just me having fun with the build, because Kankuro actually references two separate styles of theater in his outfit. His clothes and fighting style are inspired by Bunraku puppeteer costumes, whereas his face paint and name is based on Kabuki theater. This gives him the trained proficiency in performance and theater lore, as well as the fascinating performance skill feat. With Kankuro preferring to stay at distance in combat and letting his puppets do the fighting for him, he will use the Summoner class, with a Scout Construct Eidolon. With only one puppet initially, we'll start with Karasu and rely on the adaptability of his construct through its features and his spells to replicate his other puppets. Although a caster, summoners get an evolution feat at first level, which Kankuro will use to take advanced weaponry and provide Karasu with the grapple trait on its blades, since even this one will wrap people up in its grasp. Having a construct Eidolon means that Kankuro is automatically trained in Arcana and Crafting, and will also take up Acrobatics, Athletics, Stealth, and Thievery. Kankuro has a few offensive spells that he'll want to maintain the attack and DC of, so Charisma is his primary target to boost. Dexterity helps him keep a bit safer, and will help with his shuriken throwing, while Intelligence will aid him in crafting. Armed with arcane arts from his automaton assistant, Kankuro will initially shoulder the burden of the poison equipped into Karasu through the Puff of Poison cantrip and the Noxious Vapors first rank spell, which also provides some handy concealment. Befitting a puppeteer, Kankuro also has Mage Hand, Telekinetic Projectile, and perhaps most importantly, Summon Construct. This is an alternate way for Kankuro to capture the feeling of his multitude of puppets. Before we move on from here, I want to mention that summoners are fairly unique as casters go, losing spells they know as a level. I'll mention what spells I like as they crop up, but won't be describing how he heightens his spells, which ones he drops, going into new ranks and stuff like that. At second level, Kankuro modifies Karasu to be a ranged combatant. Regrettably, there isn't a poison damage option amongst these choices, so he will settle for piercing damage to represent the spray of needles, Perhaps I'm digging too deep into Kankuro's poison usage, but I'll go even further before this build is done, starting with alchemical crafting so that he can craft his own poisons for his puppets. An additional first rank spell grants him access to command, which he can use to manipulate foes with his chakra threads. Fleet at 3rd level helps Kankuro move a bit faster, which may be useful for when he's trying to be stealthy and can also keep him in range of Karasu with greater ease. On the spell side of things, he can take Final Sacrifice, since he sometimes plants bombs in his puppets, though this should never be cast on Karasu, since, well, he and Kankuro share hit points as a summoner in Eidolon. There's also the first skill increase at this level, which will go to crafting, increasing it to Expert. With his 4th level class feat, Kankuro can give magical understudy to Karasu, granting him some innate cantrips. Karasu can finally get some poison of his own with the Puff of Poison cantrip, and launch an entire array of darts with the Needle Darts cantrip. From his crafting skill feats, Kankuro also takes magical crafting, so that he can work on and improve his specially designed puppets. Additionally, Kankuro picks up the Telekinetic Maneuver spell, which will allow him to trip and entangle opponents from afar with his chakra threads. Both Kankuro and Karasu get their ability boosts at this level, with the latter focusing on dexterity and then strength. Clever Improviser is a 5th level Ancestry feat that helps Kankuro adapt for whatever infiltration missions he's assigned to, and fits with his slightly more subtle manner of operation. Finally gaining access to 3rd rank spells, Kankuro gains the very thematically appropriate Wooden Double. This is a fantastic match for a traditional jutsu seen in Naruto, where they substitute themselves with logs to avoid damage. Because of his skilled heritage and an increase to intelligence at this level, he increases 3 skills. Deception and Stealth both go up to Expert, and Intimidation becomes Trained. For his 6th level class feat, Kankuro can grab Master Summoner, so that he can call forth more puppets, but I understand if that isn't a playstyle people want to go for. If not, I'd suggest taking Skilled Partner at this level, rather than the later level that my build takes it. As mentioned, Kankuro will at times disguise himself as his puppets, which is aided by his Deception skill, and the Quick Disguise feat that he gains from it. To help him act sooner and get the jump on foes, Kankuro takes Incredible Initiative at 7th level, but he does actually gain an Evolution feat as well, since he has a Construct Companion. This time around, the build leads a tiny little bit into Sanshua with the Defend Summoner Evolution to help protect Kankuro a tiny bit. But the neat thing about this is that Kankuro can just spend some downtime and a crafting check, which increases to Master at this level, to swap out this feat for another Evolution feat. Additionally, with 4th rank spells, he can take Suggestion to replace Command. At 8th level, Magical Adept builds out a Magical Understudy to grant Karasu some once per day leveled spells. He'll start with either Noxious Vapors or Spider Sting for his 1st rank spell, and Humanoid Form to better disguise as Kankuro for the 2nd rank spell. On the topic of disguises, Kankuro can also take Backup Disguise for his skill feat. A 9th level Ancestry feat allows Kankuro to take up Multi-Talented for a Monk Dedication. While initially focused on utilizing his puppets, as Kankuro grew, he improved his skills in unarmed combat, and he can represent that with the Powerful Fist feature. This will grant him the trained proficiency in survival, and he'll also increase Deception to Master. From his spells, he can also pick up Cloud Kill, a sort of improvement to the Noxious Vapors that he once used. 10th level grants another class feat, which is spent on Constricting Hold, based on Kankuro's fight in the prelims of the Chunin exam, where Karasu crushed his adversary in his grasp. Since Kankuro dreams of building the ultimate puppet one day, he should probably take the Inventor's skill feat for this level as well. Finally, with 11th level, Kankuro takes Toughness, so that he and Karasu have more hit points for the enemy to chew through before either of them go down. Among 6th rank spells, there's Dominate, that is again, just sort of an upgrade to Command and Suggestion. While more ninja-like than most others, Kankuro isn't particularly sneaky, which caused me to pause applying another increase to Stealth at this level. I ended up going for Acrobatics, but looking back at it, Athletics might be better here just to raise the DC needed to escape Karasu's grapple. Coming in at 12th level is Flexible Transmogrification, try saying that 3 times fast, which will allow him to swap out evolution feats on a daily basis. This, along with the Construct Eidolon, helps make his puppet very adaptable, allowing Kankuro to upgrade for specific missions or reconfigure them into his different puppets. For Karasu, I personally like Bloodletting Claws, and I could see Sanshuo using Steed form. Early in the series, Kankuro tried to act friendly with Naruto to gain information about other characters, which will be reflected in the Discreet Inquiry skill feat. Also at this level, Karasu gains access to 4th rank spells, from which I picked Mercurial Stride as it allows Karasu to reposition while also inflicting poison damage. I said a while back, 2 levels ago, that it felt weird focusing stealth, but I can't overcome that feeling by level 13, where Kankuro does finally increase stealth to master, and takes a shadowy ancestry feat with Shadow Pact. When he isn't disguising himself as his puppets, Kankuro will sometimes just simply switch places with them, which he can achieve through Transpose as his 14th level class feat. He can also take up specialty crafting for poison, and then grants Karasu the Cloud Kill spell. Kankuro has at one point or another claimed to have some resistance to poison, and given that his class lacks any poison resistance like the Alchemist, he'll take Fast Recovery for his 15th level general feat to represent this instead. Then, crafting increases to legendary, and with his intelligence boost, he becomes trained in society. I mentioned previously that I was going to take Skilled Partner, and that finally comes online at 16th level, which will be taken to grant Karasu the Quick Jump, Backup Disguise, and Slippery Praise skill feats, granting this puppet greater mobility, some ability in disguising itself as Kankuro, and a way to escape grapples. For Kankuro's skill feat here, he will take up Lengthy Diversion. This makes use of his deception skill while also allowing him to slip away unnoticed more effectively. I maintain that there need to be more 17th level Ancestry feats for the sake of build diversity if nothing else, because Kankuro feels kind of stuck taking Heroic Presence. Given that this guy's introduction to the series was beating up a child, it doesn't quite feel right. Somewhat more excitingly though, his Construct Companion gains an ultimate reconfiguration. For this, I just went for something generally useful in the form of a Resilient Shell, which will give Karasu resistance to physical damage, but there are plenty of other options to take instead. Deception gets bumped up to Legendary, and this is the point where Kankuro finalizes his spell repertoire. I personally settled on Final Sacrifice, Wooden Double, Noxious Vapors, Dominate, and Summon Construct. I could see swapping Vapors for Cloud Kill, but I like the proximity of the former, and switching Wooden Double for Telekinetic Maneuver if you want to be a bit more aggressive. With this next level, Karasu also finishes up his spell list by taking Magical Master. Many of the spells in this lineup I've already talked about, but some new ones include Arrow Salvo at 6th rank for the Fletched Storm it spews, and then Vampiric Maiden for 7th rank. I considered Force Cage to capture people with, but this can immobilize a person while also serving as a nice nod towards the combination attack of Karasu and Kuro Ari. At this point, Kankuro can also just craft anything, so that he can build towards his ultimate puppet. With 19th level, he picks up Feather Step, given his familiarity with difficult terrain such as shifting sands, and then he'll increase his stealth skill to legendary as well. Again, I don't think that an increase to athletics would be bad here either. It would certainly help the grapple of the puppets, and Kankuro doesn't seem to do a ton of actual sneaking. The one time he was told to trail people, he simply attacked them. This is a rare instance where we don't actually take a capstone feat at 20th level. I understand if you don't agree with this choice, like many others in this build, but I liked True Transmogrification, which allows Kankuro to swap out any evolution feat at the start of each day. This allows him to fully reconfigure his puppets, doing things such as taking Energy Heart and Range Combatant for fire to represent the flamethrowers of Sasori, grabbing Hulking Size for Kuroari or Sanshuo, or using Steed Form for Sanshuo as well. From amongst the final skill feats available to him, since Kankuro increased stealth, he might as well take Swift Sneak, so that he can move at full speed while sneaking. Like a puppet on strings, we have come to the end of the line for this build, so let's wrap this up with a review on what we've made. Kankuro is a skilled human summoner with a Scout Construct Eidolon and Entertainer background. As a shinobi that prefers staying in the back, and is maybe true to the idea of a ninja than some of his colleagues, he leaves most of the fighting to his Eidolon, Karasu, and other puppets he summons through Summon Construct. In addition to controlling his puppets, he can use his chakra threads to trip up foes from afar with telekinetic maneuver, or usurp control of their body with the likes of Command, Suggestion, and Dominate. More reliant upon deceit and trickery than usual, he uses options such as Quick Disguise, Backup Disguise, and his investment in Deception to disguise himself as his puppets while they, through magical adept and humanoid form, do the reverse. He also maintains, repairs, and upgrades his puppets, which can be reflected through the reconfigurable nature of the Construct Eidolon, his crafting skill, and the flexible transmogrification line of feats. His proclaimed resistance to poison is demonstrated by the Fast Recovery General feat. When beset by opponents, Kankuro can escape danger with options such as Wooden Double or Transpose, bringing Karasu into the fray instead. Speaking of the devilish doll, Karasu is armed with blades and needles that it can spit thanks to ranged combatant, and through the magical understudy line of feats, it can eventually launch clouds of poisonous gas through Cloud Kill or Puff of Poison. Karasu also crushed an opponent in a bear hug, which can be represented through its advanced weaponry for the grapple trait, as well as the constricting hold feat. These abilities in general match many of Kankuro's puppets, though Defend Summoner is closer to Sanshuo, which can be further built by utilizing flexible transmogrification to pick up steed form. To represent the fire breath and flamethrowers exhibited by both Sanshuo and Sasori, true transmogrification should be used to swap in Energy Heart and Ranged Combatant, both for fire damage. Deft and duplicitous, this desert duelist deals in diabolical dolls that dish out dreadful damage with debilitating draughts. Let me know what you think of this build and what other characters you might like to see in the comments down below. You can check out the blog for a deeper breakdown of the build, which also includes items and suggestions for a free archetype game. That, along with the Monster Monday Twitter and Discord, are linked in the description below. Thanks for watching and have a fantastic Friday.